Today's collectible spot, we are having a look at the Hot Toys Commando John Matrix 1/6 scale collectible figure. MMS276 is your product code for John Matrix here. Really excited that this figure was going to be released. Truthfully, I kind of had hoped more so that Hot Toys would have given us a Dutch, but the fact that we're getting ourselves a John Matrix, I don't feel like a Dutch is that far away. Spot picked this up from the folks over at Underground Figures. I'll put the link down below. If you guys are interested in heading over there, they have a ton of different Hot Toys and 6 scale figures available. In the meantime, the box itself is interesting. They instead didn't go the route of giving us the cover of what the movie poster or VHS cover would have been, and instead gave us an image of the 6 scale figure of John Matrix firing off his rocket launcher. Down below, we've got Hot Toys Movie Masterpiece Series. Also, too, if I just tip the package just slightly to the side, Commando is raised, which is a little nice small touch that I appreciate. Speaking of, as I continue to turn it, you see that the smoke emitted from the rocket launcher carries over to the side of the package, where we are treated to Commando, John Matrix, and 1/6 scale collectible. The back of the package features pretty much the same stuff as what we're seeing from the front. Hot Toys presents Movie Masterpiece Series, the cast and crew responsible for producing this piece. Spot's going to take a break and get this opened up. When we come back, though, we're going to get a better look at the Hot Toys Commando John Matrix figure. There's more heading away, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Before we have a look at John Matrix, how about the first thing that we have a look at is this standard display stand that comes with the figure. Not really much to be said, it's just an oval-shaped standard Hot Toys display stand featuring Commando at the top, John Matrix on the front. I suppose they could have gone a little more elaborate, being that, you know, predominantly near the end of the movie, I mean, that's really what encompasses Commando when people think about it. They could have given him some grass terrain or something that he could have stood on top, but I guess at the end of the day, I'm not too bothered by just a simple standard display stand. You can pose them pretty cool. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a really complicated display stand, but it is what it is. You got Commando, John Matrix on the front. When it comes to the figure itself, well, it's a pretty good representation of not only John Matrix, but of Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's not perfect, granted, but I think the pros outweigh the cons. Let's first have a look at his face. When it comes to his face, I think you can look at it and you know it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. That being said, though, they've done something. I don't know if it's whether that's being the paint or if they've done something to the face where they've almost softened his expression, if that makes any sense. What ends up happening is his face, some of the details just end up getting lost. And I don't know if it's the actual war paint that they put on him as well. But like his eyes don't seem as predominant. His mouth almost seems to get lost. I think it's maybe that it could be that he's got this tanned color on him that as a result of it, a lot of his facial features seem to get lost. The side profile I think looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. So certainly so does the front. But I feel like there's just something not quite right about the face. Just to do a slight comparison with some of the other Hot Toys Schwarzenegger figures that Spot has, we can bring in the T-800 from Terminator 2 and Arnie from Terminator 1. If I'm looking at the three figures in front of me, the most recognizable, I think, as Schwarzenegger, I would probably say is Commando. Facially, structurally, his frame looks a lot more accurate than the T-800. And I'm still not crazy about how the T1, the Terminator from T1, also turned out. I think this is the best Schwarzenegger, and maybe it's just the paint that ends up killing it for me. Just a closer look at what I'm talking about. The T-800 was good from Terminator 2, although you really have to keep the glasses on him, I think, for him to look really like Arnold Schwarzenegger. The T-100, I keep wanting to say the T-100, but the Terminator from Terminator 1, I think does not look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I mentioned that during the course of when I did the review of him. I do feel like John Matrix is the strongest sculpt for a Schwarzenegger piece. It's just really a shame that some of it ends up getting lost with the choices that they went with when it comes to painting him. It's also to note too that with the 3 figures, proportionately, I feel like the John Matrix fits a better profile and just overall structure of Schwarzenegger's proportions better than the T-800 and better than how he appeared in Terminator 1. It also is very apparent too that there's a height difference between all 3 of them, that I felt like this one was a better height versus that of the Terminator 1. I mean, I would really love I couldn't swap out the heads, because the head obviously would not make any sense having it on this body. Still, I think this is my least favorite Terminator, or at least my least favorite Schwarzenegger sculpt. I might give it to John Matrix, but that's not to say that I think this is a superior figure. I just feel like the sculpt and facial sculpt, at least, of him is much better. As for his body, they've done the same thing with his body that they did with the Hot Toys Thor. They've enclosed it all in a rubber suit. It gives you a very more realistic look to it, but unfortunately, again, all your joints and everything else are going to be inside a rubber frame. We're still not certain as to how structurally how secure this is going to be, that whether this rubber will eventually start tearing. It's a concern I certainly have. But in the meantime, it does give a lot of extra weight to the figure. It's actually one of the heaviest Hot Toys I own in the collection, just because he's got this extra rubber torso to him. As for the rest of his look, well, there's not really much to be said so far, because we've got to add a lot of other things to it. Default out of packaging, he's got his green, military green pants, and he's also got his military boots. He's got a holster on the side that will hold a knife. And other than that, just he's got a belt buckle, a couple of stitched pockets which cannot be opened. I guess really, in this, the way he's looking right now, if we don't eventually get ourselves a Predator Dutch, which I'm hoping we do, you could really use this as a Dutch. The markings are, of course, not right. The pants aren't quite 100% correct. You could find a more military print pant. It could be a passable way to get Dutch until we officially get a release from Hot Toys. In the meantime, though, to give him a more look accurate to how he appears in the movie, the folks over at Hot Toys also gives you a vest. The vest has tons of pockets, all of which seem to be ones that can be opened and house things. He's also got a section on the side that will allow him to hold the bullets, which I'll show you in a second. A section for a knife. These pockets also on the side do open up. He's got a couple of grenades that theoretically could be removed. I would not remove them though, because it's too much hassle to put them back together. And there's the back there. A couple of sections also for some knives. So let's go ahead and get the vest on Matrix. We'll unzip it, as you would normally with a article of clothing that zips up. Just unzip that. And in order to get it on John here, you want to move the arms back. I'm a little still iffy about having a rubber frame. I just feel like if something goes wrong with it, it's so much more enclosed to get access to it. Whereas at least if something goes on a fully visible, fully exposed frame, you could still try to work around it, maybe getting replacement arms or something like that. And from there, we can do our best to try to zip this up. Zipping it up can truly be a test of patience and really a lot of care, because you have to actually get it over top of his very large torso, and the fact that his body is already also rubber, it sticks to the vest itself. So you have to keep adjusting it as you're zipping it up. But that's what it looks like with him with his vest on. Looks, yes, a little bit more like how he would appear in the movie. Now we just have to add some of the other things to the vest itself. Included with John Matrix, you get a tray of different ammos. Well, one type of ammo, and you got 2 blades and a watch. For the purpose of this review, I opted to keep everything kind of inside here until we were ready to have a look at them, because I didn't want to get these bullets everywhere. In the meantime, though, let's pull out the knives. I'll just put the tray down there. The 2 knives that he comes included with, you want to take the figure, spin it around, and those knives will fit right in here. And as you're doing it, you want to make sure that the pocket is fully accessible, as it will pinch itself. And then you can get the blades up like that. Take the other one and fit it up there as well. You would imagining in the movie he'd be reaching from behind and he'd be throwing the blades out. Despite, you know, if you're not ending up displaying him facing from behind, it's not to say that you would necessarily have to keep the blades in the back, but it's pretty cool that they would have included them. Now comes the fun part. We have to take these little bullets, and the little bullets, let's bring him around here, the little bullets will fit right in here. They're not difficult, mind you, to put in. I also feel like they're not the most secure. In fact, I almost feel like the loops that hold the bullets are almost too big, that the bullets may potentially fall out. We're going to go ahead and add each one of these inside the vest. As I continue to put the bullets in there, it becomes quite apparent that yes, I appreciate when Hot Toys can give us removable things on body parts like vests and stuff like that. But something like these, I would never take the bullets off. They could have easily just sculpted the bullets already in place. I would have been completely fine with that. I appreciate that they included as separate pieces, but man, oh man, it's just a pain in the butt getting those in there. The last thing that you're supposed to be able to do is take these little straps that are from the backs of the vest, and you're supposed to be able to bring them around through his legs, and these are to attach to these little clasps. I've tried loosening these to extend them as far as I can. I will continue to struggle with these, but I might just ultimately leave them off. Just too much hassle to try to get these attached. It's extremely tight as well. I'll have to just continue to try to fasten these together. John also gets himself an analog watch that you can go ahead and add to his wrist. Just want to pop that off. Slide this one on. This will be a lot easier than putting the vest straps on. And put the arm or hand back into place. Another thing that comes included with John Matrix is a couple of pouches. He actually gets two different pouches. U.S. Army ZM3 2110 M1 on the bags themselves. Both of them also have a Velcro clasp. And there are 2 pockets. One seems visibly smaller than the other. He also comes with a couple of landmines. And the landmines should fit in these pockets. Although much like the vest, you struggle a bit trying to get them actually in there. But each of the landmines have these little antennas that extend out. This one actually has come off. I dropped it somewhere. Here's the other one here. These, as you can see, these little antennas come off. And they just peg into place. Very, very small pieces. There we go. So yeah, that's how they work, little antennas there. And then these also fold down, but they're just really small. And a lot of times while you're doing this, you might find yourself having to reattach them because they've fallen off. And those will fold inside to the bag, but some caution should be made while you're putting them in the bag that these antennas don't get caught and you accidentally break them off. The other thing to come included with Matrix is a couple of detonators. He gets 2 detonators, 2 landmines. This little section here moves. Doesn't really do anything necessarily, but this little area here moves. And he gets 2 detonators. He also gets a pair of binoculars that I guess you could try to put over his head, although it's a very small strap. Blue on the lenses on the front, and you may not be able to see it, but there's blue lenses on the back there as well. He also gets a very large knife, that you can either have him holding, or, as I mentioned before, you can take the knife and it fits just in the front holster. Again, making sure you put it the right way. It slides into place just like that. Okay, let's talk firepower because, of course, if you've seen Commando, he has a lot of it. He comes included with a shotgun, complete with an actual cocking mechanism that moves back and forth. Also a strap that you could put around his shoulder if you're not displaying him with it. He also comes with a smaller submachine gun. I believe these are submachine guns. Spot doesn't know too much when it comes to actual guns. Little section here that moves back. It does not look like it has a removable clip. Looks like it could be just affixed to it. He also comes with a much larger rifle, which actually has, I think these sections do swing out. They're attached just by the underside clip there. And then this also folds down. A very small piece. Again, I would be worried about that breaking off, but in the meantime, I do appreciate that they would have included it. And those tuck just back underneath like that. By the way, also this section here does move back forward as well. It's spring activated, so when you pull it back and let it go, it will release on its own. Also doesn't appear that this has a removable magazine clip. Finally, for the largest and most powerful of his ammunition, he comes with an U.S. Army rocket launcher. The side has M202A1, and though it does unfortunately not come with any rockets, the NECA version, if you remember, came with little rockets you could put, almost it looked as if it was firing off. The Hot Toys version unfortunately doesn't come with it. There is a section on the back, however, you can pull as if he's ready to fire. I wish they had actually come with it. Of all the things that Matrix does actually come with, he does not come with rockets that you could actually put inside. A small, slight disappointment. For everything else that we do get, I wish they would have actually included those as well. Last, but certainly not least, obviously if you want to be having him holding weapons, John Matrix also comes with a ton of different interchangeable hands. Ones ranging from flat palms, a lot of them mostly for holding weapons, variations of hand grips, and one suitable for holding knives. Changing out hands, of course, always super easy on these. You just want to go ahead and grab the arm, as we've already seen before, pull the hand off, and do your best not to pull, as Spot has just done, pull the peg off, because then you have to either try to finagle these back off, or luckily, Hot Toys also gives you a ton of extras as well. In this case, you get 2 extras. Find the hand that you want to change it to. Let's take this hand, for example. Peg that back into place, and swap the hands to the ones that you want to change them to. Let's have a look at his articulation now. For John Matrix articulation, his head is on a ball joint. Seems very limited though, because you can move the head left and right, but so much of everything is underneath this rubber torso that it really does prevent a lot of movement above and beyond that one ball joint that we're looking at now. For his shoulders do hinge out fairly easy. They do rotate forward and back. He does not really have, he doesn't have any, seemingly he has no swivel point in his bicep. He does have a bend in his elbow. I am a little worried though again about a rubber overlaid piece. But for the meantime, it does give you a very realistic looking arm. I just worry about anything that's working underneath, especially you won't know if you're adding strain too much to a joint other than the areas that you know where a bend would be, like an elbow. He has a rotation and hinge in the hand. Upper torso does technically have a crunch, but you can't really do too much with it. And then his legs do go forward, back, and out. A top swivel cut in the thigh, double hinged knees, and a rotation and hinge in the foot. As one final look, Spot just had to do it, I brought in the Hot Toys 6-scale figure of the classic Predator. I know they're not quite from the same movie, but until we get ourselves a Hot Toys Predator Dutch, this might be the way I'm going to be pairing the two figures up. Okay, maybe it's a bit of a stretch, but one can dream, certainly can't they? So the figure as a whole, it's not bad. I might be of the minority to say this, but I think it's one of the better Arnold Schwarzenegger face sculpts based on the other figures that we've gotten from Hot Toys. It's one of the better ones. Unfortunately, the paint, for some reason or another, distorts what could have been a good sculpt on Schwarzenegger's face. The rest of the body is a good touch by having the rubber overlaid suit, covering up everything, making it a little more realistic. However, again, there's always that possible down the road of something happening to it where that rubber might start wearing, or again, something might break underneath. Like I said, the pros do outweigh the cons. I think as a whole, it's a great figure. I just feel like maybe, first of all, Commando, I would have honestly gone with a Dutch more so. Maybe we'll get a Dutch down the road. It's a good figure, it just has a lot of stuff. And that's not necessarily a strike on Hot Toys. It's got a lot of stuff. It's got little components, it's got little, bullets, little straps, little things you got to worry about putting on him, that it takes a lot to kind of get stuff together. At the end of the day, though, I'm happy with the figure, and I do love Commando. It's one of my guilty pleasures when it comes to Schwarzenegger flicks. It's not great, it's not fantastic, but it's a fun little action flick to check out from time to time. I think Hot Toys did a pretty good job here on John Matrix. Like I said, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. If you guys are interested in picking this guy up for yourself, you can head over to Underground Figures, where they sell a ton of different Hot Toys and 6-scale figures. That's where Spot picked this guy up from. And certainly thanks for watching, as you always do. Stay tuned, Spot's going to have more collectible spots heading your way. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.